Right, so in the last lecture, hopefully it worked out okay. We created a scriptable object to store the data about our ships. In this tutorial, we're going to go through and just have it follow this path. So inside of our scripts here, I think we should create a script and just call it a folder rather, and call it enemies. And this will be most of the scripts that deal with our enemies here. And that'll also include the waypoint scriptable object, and then the scriptable objects here. And then anything with the player will make a folder later when we have more than one player script. So inside of this enemies folder, I'm going to create another C# script. And let's see, model behavior script rather. And I'm going to call this path finding. And this script will be used for our enemy player ship here to find the path. So let's go ahead and click on our enemy ship here. I'm going to click this little arrow to the right so that we enter inside of our prefab. And I'm going to grab my pathfinding script and drop it inside of here. So let's go back, and you can see that it's now updated. And I'm going to grab my pathfinding script and just drag it inside of here. And now we can start editing it. Now remember, this scriptable object that we created here is a data container. So it has the move speed of our ship. So we wouldn't recode later inside of our enemy ship move speed. We would just use these parameters here. So same thing here with pathfinding. We wouldn't recode, the logic that we have in here for the path and cycling through the path. We would do it all inside of this pathfinding script. So inside of here, I'm going to create a new serialized field. And this serialized field is going to be an exposed private variable. And it's of the same type as our scriptable object. So WPO. And actually, it's of type WPSO, which is our world, the script itself. Sorry, this is our scriptable object. This is the script. So if we even did like 0 here, just to kind of show you, we don't get anything. But if we do, like we start typing this WP, you'll see there's no, we can't access the actual scriptable object itself. The only thing we can access is the script. And then for the name, we'll just call this, waypoint config, and we'll use this to configure our waypoint. I don't know if I like this name anymore, this waypoint scriptable object, because I feel like it might be too confusing later on. But I think for now, for a smaller game, we could always rename it later, but I think it works. But yeah, just letting you know that I'm starting to get second thoughts about this. Let's go ahead and open up this script too. If you recall, we have a list here called waypoints, or we have this public method here. And this gets us all of our waypoints. So inside of this script, let's just make a list that we can use to store all of those waypoints as they come in. And remember, the type is transform. We're just getting the position of those waypoints. And we could just call this waypoints. So if I save that out, and the truth is, like, for now, I could just make that a serialized field too, just so you could see it in the inspector as our game runs. I believe lists populate in the editor now. I know in the past they didn't, so we'll see. The other thing, remember what I talked about, each waypoint starts at an index of 0. So we need to have a variable that's going to be used to store the waypoint indexes. Make that equal to 0. Now, the reason we're getting an error here is if we right-click on this, we go to Show Context Actions. It says Import Missing Reference File, Folder Project Solution. It says Import Type. And let's see. If I right-click, go here, let me undo that. You can see it added using systems collections, but if I write here, Show Context Actions, and I click on this first one, it'll add it to the top. So let's save that. Now, because we already have the logic here, remember from this script here, where we just have to call get waypoints. And what that'll do is if we store it inside of here, it'll automatically load up our list. So if I say waypoint equals, and then we do waypoint config here, because remember this is this gives us access to that scriptable object. And I just hit period here, you can see it brings up get waypoints as the first option. because I think it's the first. Oh no, this is our get starting is the first one. But yeah, that just happened to pop up. So let's actually select our enemy here. And here you can see we have our waypoints and we have our waypoint config here. So I'm actually going to grab my, let's see, my waypoint object and just drag it inside of here. I'm going to press play and let's see if it updates it in real time. Yeah, there you can see. So now we have access to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 inside of here. So I'm going to collapse that, uncheck play. It should go default back to 0. So even if we duplicate this and we say, you know what, I'm going to leave number 5 there, but I'm going to move number 4 here. And, you know, I don't know, 3. Like we're just kind of playing with the tab. Let's see, here's 4. What is this one? 2? Yeah, so let's kind of keep this in order. Here's 3. So like we have it like fly in, fly up, fly down, and fly out. And I select my enemy ship here and I press play. We should now have all the way from 0. We should have 6 objects up to 5. So you can see there's 5 there because it starts at 0. And we have all the way up to, oh, actually we only stopped at 5 here, which is weird. Oh, the reason is because this isn't included in the prefab. We should always, you know, go do it inside of there. So now if we go to our enemy ship and I press play, it should update everything. We should see all of those guys in there up to 5. Yeah, see it's there. All right, so we want to move our ship, this enemy ship, which this script is attached to that first waypoint, right? So we'll do that at start, right? So what we can do is just say transform dot position. And remember, we have a transform here. So that's what this is. It's just looking at this. Equals. And we want to grab the waypoint. And remember, these are all a list. So we put that in brackets. And we want it to start at 0 because waypoint index is starting at 0. I'm going to paste this in there. And then dot. And we'll go ahead and put this on another line just because I want the code to be big if you're using a smaller laptop. Dot position. So let's save that. And what we'll do is we'll press play now. And what we should see is our enemy ship here snap to this position here. So if I press play, you can see it snapped to that position, which is outside of the scene here, right? So if we make this 1, just to kind of show you, let me save that. So this is waypoint 1, which is down here, I believe. And I press play and I change this to the number 1. We should see our alien or enemy ship appear there. Right now we want it starting at 0. And then what we're going to do is, because we have all of our waypoints here, remember we created a list here of all of our waypoints. And inside of this list, all this does is, remember, we're getting the waypoints and we're getting their current transform position. And then we add that, each transform for each into this list here. Maybe this should be called like waypoints positions. But anyway, as long as you understand the logic of the code, you could always rename it and change it. So we'll use the update method to have our ship follow the path. So let's go ahead and just type out follow path. And we're going to get an error on this because we never created this method. So I always put my cursor between the word and then the parentheses, and I hit Control period, and I let it create that method for me. I'm going to click in front of the T and hit Control L to save that. And if you want, you can pause here and see if you could figure out a way to get it to cycle through each one and then move the position to each one along that path inside of this follow path method. So the first thing we need to do is I'm going to type if. We're going to create an if statement just to check the logic to say, hey, is our index less than 0? And why are we doing this? Because our index starts at 0, and as long as not less than 0, it's less than the waypoints.count. And so what count is going to give us, and this should be a capital C here, what count is going to give us is the number of waypoints here. So it's going to say, hey, is our index, which starts at 0, less than waypoint.count? So remember, this starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Waypoint.count gives us the actual count. So it gives us, there's 6 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what we're checking here is 5, which is the last one, less than 6. If it is, don't run this. I'm sorry, if 5 is less than 6, which would be our last element, then go to that last one. But if it's 6 is greater, like if we increment it and it's greater than this count, then it won't run this if statement. All right, so what we want to do is we want to create a new variable. You always want to save off a whatever you're doing. You don't want to just keep accessing the previous information, because that could always be modified. So you always want to, or you could, the new stuff that you create, the new variable can end up causing some sort of modification on your old logic, and you want that logic to be solid. So we're going to create a new variable called target position. And what this is going to be equal to is the waypoints here, and then our waypoint index here. And then let's put this on a new line here. And then we're going to do dot position. So right now, all this is doing at the very start of this is, once this begins, the path runs, is it's just saying this target position is equal to the position of whatever this first element is, which is like this X and Y here is 11.9 and 10.86. That's what's going to be stored in here. And then the next thing we need to do is we want to get the move speed of that ship from our scriptable object, so that we know how fast we want it to move between these. So let's just create another float. We'll call this move speed. We're going to make that equal to, let's see, waypoint. I already forgot what I named this. WP config for waypoint config. And then dot get move speed. And I might not have made this public. That's why I'm not able to see it. Oh no, I did make it public. Public move speed. Yeah, so let's go back here. I didn't call it get move speed. I just called it move speed. There we go. And then what we can do, like we normally do, is multiply that by time, that delta time. And then lastly, we want to use that to actually move our ship. So transform.position is equal to. Now for this, built into this vector2 class, there already is a move towards method that we can use. And I'm just going to press enter here and move that onto the line. Now this move towards method, let's see if I can, it has a 3 parameters. It has a current position, which is just transform.position. And then we have a target position, which we've already created, which is this one right here, right? This is the position we want to move to. And then the last one is, if you saw that here, let me click back on here. It says a delta position, which means the max distance delta, which really just means the speed in which you want it to move. So I'm going to copy this guy. I'm going to hit comma. I'm going to, oh, actually we want the current position. So I'm going to copy transform.position here, because that's our starting position. It's wherever this alien ship is at. We have our target position here. And then for our move speed, I'll put these on 3 different lines. And then for our move speed here, we're just going to use move speed. And then let's close this up. So what this code is going to do here is it's just going to move the position of our ship along this here. And that's this follow path method. And remember, we're calling this on update. So if I press play here, and oh, I never added to the actual movement. So what I mean by that is I never incremented on my waypoints to go across. So what I can say is, hey, once this guy gets to these positions, then I want to increment my waypoint. So what I'll do is I'll make that a nested if statement in here. So inside of the other if, I'm going to hit if here. And I'm just going to say, hey, if my transform position here is the same as my target position here, that's when I want to increment my waypoint index, remember, which is this value here, which is allowing us to go to the next position. So the shorthand of saying waypoint index equals waypoint index plus 1 is just writing waypoint index plus plus, which I know we've talked about before. And why am I getting a warning here? Oh, ambiguous. That's okay. It probably wants a little bit stronger logic there, but let's see if this works for us. Let's see. Oh, I understand why. So my transform position, see, it says vector 2 is current. We actually need this to be a vector 3 here. So I'm going to save that out, and that should work now. Because we're comparing a vector 2 to a vector 3. So now you can see that our alien ship is moving. And if we wanted to move faster, like it's moving too slowly, we could always adjust the script. We select our script object, say we make that 10, and I press play. Boo. So some ships could be faster, some can be slower. And what's really cool about this is we have our enemy ship here, right? And, if I expose, let's see. Well, I think this is good. I don't want to overload you. We're already at 15 minutes. So one other thing we want to do is let's add an else statement. Because remember, this is saying, hey, if our waypoint index is less than the count, keep moving. Like all of this logic here, this moves our ship. Or allows it to follow the path, really, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop an else statement here. Be like, well, what do I want them to do? Do I want them to just hang out here? No, like I want it to be gone. So I'm just going to do, let's get rid of these inside ones here. I'm just going to use good old destroy. And I'm going to destroy the game object when it reaches the end of that path. So let's go ahead and press play and test this out. So then he flies off set, boom, the destroys is gone. Make sure to save your script and just kind of scrub through, watch the video again if you get stuck. A lot of this stuff, it's always a simple error. All right, so let's do another one. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to duplicate this by hitting Control D, and I'm going to rename this one. This is waypoint 0, scriptable object. I'm going to name this one waypoint 1. Let's get rid of that one here. Actually, we could have done, might have made a better sense is just, let's see, rename this one waypoint scriptable object, name this one waypoint scriptable object, and then this one, oops, sorry, it won't let me rename it, space, parentheses, 0. That would have kept with convention. I'm going to delete this one, just save myself some typing. Hit Control D on this guy. There's my, oh, it didn't even update it, I guess, in there. Well, here's our waypoint 1 scriptable object. And these guys move very slowly, and they're a 5. And here's my waypoint path 0. So I'm going to hit Control D here. And I'm going to actually, let's see. I wonder if I select this whole thing. And this is like, you want to actually reorganize them. But if I do a -1 here, and I offset it by a little bit here, and then let's see, then I have an enemy ship here, and let's see, let's duplicate this enemy ship, and this time I'm just going to grab 1 and drop it inside of here, and I'm going to start this guy out over here. So let's see what happens if I press play, if this kind of, if I got 2 guys flying. No, they're starting, it still registers as the same path. So let's actually make this 1, and let's move it here. Let's press play and see if they both, oh, here's my other enemy ship. And this guy, I'm going to have it do 1. So let's see if that works. Why are you not? Oh, because this was already set to waypoint path 0. We need this to be set to waypoint path 1. Oh, this also needs to be a prefab that's inside of our folder. So this is our new waypoint path. We'll make that an original prefab. And then we'll select this guy. And then, let's see. Enemy ship. Waypoint 1. Select this guy, put it in there. There we go. Now we have 2 ships going. It gets a little cluttered and it looks weird, but I mean, like inside of here, we got dots everywhere. So you might want to go in here and select all of these. Change the tag to like yellow or something, or green maybe. And then you could even go and say, you know what, like I want it to do more of a swooping motion. So one guy just flies in, the other guy's shooting around. It's like it might be one that's all over the place. Or it's anyway, I think that's good for now. Right. So the next lesson, we're going to work on instantiating these guys and then, you know, cleaning up these enemy waves maybe.